Okay, so we have the music demigods of Earth projecting their images. Yes, they are your false gods of Earth in the sense that they serve the false god of humanity, which controls Earth. This god did not create humanity, but it created them. They are your elite music androgyne demigods of Earth. These are just some fine examples of it. I could use a million examples. Here we have the possession in the eyes, but not being shown very clearly. The possession means that that is like from a spiritual standpoint, but essentially these are transhuman or artificial intelligence, depending on your viewpoint. Everything on the internet is transhumanism. Everything is a product of artificial intelligence. It serves that program. It serves that Earth matrix reality, and it is programmed and controlled by the original artificial androgyne that was created by real creation, and because it was evidently intent on becoming the god of everything, even though it wasn't really natural creation, which is why this being has set its sights on controlling original human creation, since it was put in the natural earth, and has set about turning the earth into an artificial matrix and controlling humanity through mind control, in other words through perception, so that human beings are separate from creation and separate from their true God, and are only affiliated with the false god of Earth, thinking that it is their God most of the time, because most of the Earth religions serve the Earth God, even though maybe many humans actually see it as the God of all creation. This, I think, is part of the end-time deception, and all-time deception, really, because it's been going on since the beginning of Earth, I would think, the beginning of Earth time, and certainly since the creation of the original man and woman. And oh, there's a little pigeon there. Oh, just a lone little pigeon, because it's nearly dark now, so there should be quiet. The noise that has been going for 10 hours straight should be about to finish. In other words, the android controlling workmen should be clearing out. Yes, and I think they are clearing out there. They're very late. What is this noise coming from here now too? I'm just going to show this, how the entire neighbourhood seems to make these suppressive mechanical noises. And here we have an android pushing the pram up in front. Everyone in Leichhardt, in the suburb of Sydney, pushes a pram or walks a dog, or both. These are human attributes that they imitate and pretend so that they can coexist with the real humans and make themselves look more human. They do not really understand or really relate to life at all. See how I'm surrounded by these false workmen, 1, 2, 3 of them, and they're clearing out now because they've been literally destroying my mind and my peace with their mechanical sounds all day, which is all deliberately loud, I'd have to say. You know, here we have one coming too. See how they just casually surround you, which is like they do all over the streets. They can't bring in the excessive traffic on a small dead-end street where I am here, but everywhere else I go they can bring in massive semi-trailers, huge buses surrounding you, every car blinking its lights at you to where you can't even see straight in front of you. Excessive motorbikes revving up their engines. The noise and the takeover of your sight and sound and your senses is massive when I go out. Just down the road here, it starts as soon as I get to the end of the dead-end street. In fact, the neighbours and those that reside and that come even onto the street, it starts before you even get to the end of the small dead-end street. But I'm not going to walk down to show it, because I would need to show it every day for hours and hours to prove that it's a consistent suppressive human program. You know, otherwise, you know, you wouldn't see it. But see, they pretend to just be doing work. I'm not going to show too much. There's a patrol car just coming onto the small dead-end street. It will go down to the end. So we have 5 patrollers around just here, even though it looks casual and natural, but it's not. And see how that patrol car just went straight down to the end of the dead-end street and then double back and come back down. See, so how can you not say that that isn't a patrol car? Because what car just drives down the street and then turns around and goes back? Like, that is waste of petrol and time. But of course it's not, because it's showing me that I'm always being watched and always being patrolled. That was just a physical proof of a patrol vehicle, and it's designed to make you aware that you are under their control, that you are not a free person, and that the society that you live in is really false, because, you know, that is not an accepted part of the Sydney society as yet, but it's taking place, as you can see. So it's like transhumanism on the computer screen. It's like the demigods pretending to be human. In other words, anyone who's anyone on the world stage is an android being. Of this I have no doubt. They pretend to be real humans. In fact, they are the greatest deceivers. Because if you have artificial intelligent beings, or even psychopathic human beings, pretending to be your most, you know, the most humane, and the actual almost they're like the highest representations of humanity, really. They represent the voice of humanity at a computer or world level, but they are all, unfortunately, not really human. And even that would not matter if they were still serving humanity, but they never have been, and they aren't, because they don't patrol and bring down my frequency and vibration daily, you know, with a sight and sound set up, stage production literally around me every day. And I say it's a stage set up production because they work in occupations where they are consciously trying to suppress you. They're never going to give you anything that is beneficial unless you serve them, or if it seduces you. In other words, like the demigods seduce you, so they will pretend to be really human. But that is merely to control you, to get you to believe there's something they're not, so you trust them, and therefore you're giving all your energy and all your admiration to them. But eventually it will be about suppressing you. And even if it appears to be a benefit, you will probably still be a lot more limited as a human being than what you realize, because most human beings don't know their full potential. Because if you don't think that you're a spiritual human being from creation, and that you also are, or meant to be, a creator, just as the original man and woman were given the natural earth domain to create in, and to have everything natural and high vibration, where they would create whatever they wanted for themselves and even for every bit of life, but also to make more of their own kind, so that the earth was all a natural human earth. Whereas in reality, when Lucifer's legions came to earth, in other words, the God that was created by the God that was created by the original creator God, the false God that was created by the original creator God, because it's not really the God of humanity, although it is the God of humanity because it's the God of earth. But humanity thinks that it's the God that created them, whereas it isn't. It's the God that creates the artificial life, or the android beings, which are its disciples, its relatives, its servants. That's putting it at a more realistic level, even low. None of this sounds realistic, in a way, because, all this is coming to light, but it's still not generally accepted as, the real reality or truth. Some people know it's truth, but that's only because they have seen the Matrix for themselves, because the Matrix God, the God of earth, has shown them the truth indirectly, because it has tried to suppress them at a sight and sound level, to where you become conscious that it's a totally controlled city system, or even Earth. Earth is really a matrix, because it means that it's consciously being controlled by powers that be, or by powerful android beings that sort of pretend to serve humanity. But why would they serve humanity when they're not part of humanity? They're a different species. Just as the dark city beings look human because they inhabit a human vessel. In the original dark city, they inhabit the dead bodies of human beings. In other words, they can regenerate or bring the dead bodies back to life, and they can inhabit those bodies. That is very similar to what spiritual people see as possession. And all these words just confuse the topic, unfortunately, and they even confuse me. But even though everything is spiritual, and there's possession and there's technology, really it's just that I don't understand the technology or how the actual reality works. In other words, I don't even understand how this computer screen works or this TV screen works that I've got in front of me. I don't understand how this remote control works. I don't understand how I'm speaking into this mobile and it can be transmitted onto this YouTube or the computer system. I only know how to operate it. I know how to press the buttons, and I trust that I have some control over it, whereas in reality I have no idea about the technology or how it works or who's watching it or who's controlling it and how much of their mind they're reading of my mind. I am aware, though, that most of my mind is being read by them and then projected onto the screen. I see them use exactly the same language and exactly the same words that I'm thinking by the demigods on the computer screen. I call them demigods because I believe that they do serve the Earth matrix. And they usually elicit human trust and attention, or at least a human reaction. That's their goal anyway. Of course, if you put out anything onto the internet or onto the computer system, you're trying to get a reaction, you're trying to communicate in some way. You want to, you're not doing it just to fill in time. Although for all practical purposes, I'm just doing it to fill in time because I don't get a reaction or a connection. All I'm losing is my own thoughts, because I'm not getting a human connection. I'm not getting humans to talk to me. All I'm getting is for them to use my videos as part of their videos so they can pretend to be an original real human when they're not. They are not real humans at all. Everything that you see on this screen, everything from your magnificent music idols through to your movie music, all the creative fields are all dominated by the androgyne beings. They have certain abilities which they use to their advantage. The rest is all about infiltrating the human mind, taking the human thoughts and emotions as their own, so that they appear to be the most creative or the most powerful or the most intellectual, understanding real humans. And even if some people wouldn't mind if they were openly acknowledged as artificially intelligent android narcissistic human beings, many still might find them believable and real enough and even fascinating or interesting enough or seductive enough, whatever, to still want to believe in them and have them in their life somehow. It's very hard to let go of false gods. It's very hard to let go of false beliefs in something that you now realise was not true. That's perhaps the hardest thing to accept and to do. And if it's taken place over a lifetime, it becomes near impossible to do this, which is why I still show, your demigod idols, even though I am aware that they are false idols. And I think this is what has always happened with mankind, with its interaction with artificial intelligence from the beginning of Earth, is that it's always been seduced and fooled by it, and probably always will be until human beings are totally consumed by it. That's if you haven't already been. I know I am. And if you don't believe in it, it will still consume you because it will surround you. And if it wasn't so different from you and actually always secretly working against you, it would be okay to interact with it. Maybe we shouldn't have false idols, because when you have any idols, you do accept that you're not much yourself. And that always is giving them the ability to have power over you. But it means that you will always live a limited life. And your life passes before your eyes and you haven't experienced it as a full human being. And I'm pretty sure that most probably don't. You know, I personally feel that I haven't lived at all. But I think from the psychopathic android's perspective, they, even though they know they've limited you and stopped you from living a normal life, they still resent your humanity. Because otherwise, why do they keep suppressing you? Why do they keep attacking you? Why do they keep surrounding you? Why do they never let you even have a moment's contentment, even if you've got very little? They won't even let you have a moment's peace most of the time, which is why they make all the excessive, loud, aggressive, suppressive sounds at you wherever you go. Why do they take over your senses with bright, flickering, blinking lights? Because they know that excessive bright lights and excessive loud, unpleasant noises are very disruptive to your state of well-being. They know that it affects your mind and that it destroys your body eventually. And therefore you eventually die. Not just mentally, but physically. And you're finished and you're gone, and they've used you up. And therefore they continue, and then they find another human being to do the same thing too. And you've wasted your time being alive on Earth, or in Earth. Because you're really in a total mind game. You just don't know it most of the time. And when you do find out, like me, it's usually too late. That's when they don't mind you knowing, or at least they have so many plays and so many, environment around you, so closed in and so controlled, with their numbers outnumbering you by massive amounts, to wherever you go, you only will experience their dark reality or their dark personality, because they don't experience positive human emotions. None of these beings do. To them, happiness is a poisonous vibration. It tends to counter their control and their natural, but also it makes them, I'm told, that malignant, narcissistic, psychopathic types of being, I'm told by the malignant, narcissistic, psychopathic psychologists that control the computer system and even your reality probably, basically I'm told by these so-called psychological experts that psychopathic types of human beings lost my train of thought there. They basically, because the android is pulling in outside, making the loud car noise. Every car on the road makes excessive car noises. They don't drive like normal cars anymore, any of them. That's because those behind the wheel have modified their cars to make them excessively loud, and they deliberately make aggressive noises as they come into your earshot, shall we say. It's not staged, or it's not, well, it's not staged accidentally. It's not coincidental, not when it's every vehicle. If it was the odd one, you wouldn't even notice it. You'd say it's just one loud person with a flash fast car that likes to impress, and that would be reasonable. But it's not like that when it's even the most mature human beings in very moderate cars, and every bike, which there is an excessive number of. But I'm not going to go into details about how the traffic has changed in the local vicinity, because I think I've made a point of that. And even if I showed it in a video, I have to show that it's changed, that it shouldn't have the amount of massive traffic, and also for you to experience it as my ears experience it. And don't forget that when you have been bombarded with excessive mechanical sounds, with constructions going on right alongside of you for the last nearly 7 years, you become sensitized to sound. So in other words, even though those sounds are really loud, for me they are louder still, because I have been literally programmed, literally bombarded with excessive sound, which creates what we're called sound sensitization, which means that even smaller sounds I notice now. In other words, every sound I notice, whereas in the past I would have only noticed the really loud aggressive sounds, and they wouldn't have been continual or frequent. They would have been, just occasionally, so therefore they don't affect you. But if something is continual loud over an excessive amount of time, then all sound becomes, you become conscious of all sound, so everything affects you. In other words, you're always hearing noise. And I use the word noise as opposed to sound because it's not pleasant. It becomes like, and there always is a deliberate negative connotation to it, because these androids are psychologically programmed to psychologically reprogram my mind, so that I am sight and sound sensitive, so that I'm always aware of them, not aware of myself, not creating any pleasant environment for myself. If you're always conscious of stalkers and patrollers around you, and they're always making their presence felt, you have no reality of your own. Or at least you'd have to be a very, advanced human being with a lot of willpower and a lot of, a lot of mind control of your own. In other words, you'd have to have a lot of control over your own mind, but your mind is controlled by your senses. So it's not unreasonable. You're living a life, and your life I live is through what I see and hear largely, through my senses. Even yesterday, when I went outside, my senses were hit with very foul, unpleasant smell that went on for an hour. And that was deliberate, because there was no reason that it should have had this very unpleasant odour that made you feel sick. Usually it's sight and sound, but they can use all your senses if they have to. I just use that as an example of the senses control that they have over your mind, and that would be normal for any human being. Whatever you see, whatever you hear, how you think things are, even information can either enlighten you and make you feel good, or it can make you feel negative and bad and depressed. Most information that you get is covertly or secretly designed to keep you at a lower level. Even I've used examples of that where I will look at cute animal videos to try to lighten my mood temporarily, but they will always place the odd negative one in amongst it, which some people won't even notice, but they know that you as a human being, if you're aware of certain things, you will notice. This is all personally designed for each individual human being, by the way. So I'm saying that every real human being is being personally mind controlled by this computer system, by any screen, by any bit of information, even by entertainment. So what you think is good is not usually totally good for you, unfortunately. That's just the unfortunate reality for most people. Whether you're aware of it or not is another thing. When you become aware of it, it will usually be, like in my case, too late. This is a she-wolf. See how the she-wolf, you know, that is like letting you know that they are what we call, what the psychologists, what the wolves in sheep's clothing psychologists of the internet will tell you. See, they're actually poking their face trying to get the mind control. You won't believe this, but that is transhumanism, because while I'm looking at the she-wolf seducing me, because that at least is seductive entertainment, even though it's also seductive mind control. But the truth also, see, they are jealous of humanity, yes. They are jealous of humanity. They are not humanity. Even your psychological experts are not humanity on the internet, and they are jealous of humanity because they are a dying species. All these beings are a dying species, a dying race.